Happy days.
Indeed.
Matt, lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
We're doing our little, well, I'm doing my little catch up on interesting people and people I know that are over here at ISTE this year. Somewhere different than Denver, I guess.
Yeah.
And bumped into you
And
walking
I
down
happened
there.
to walk straight past you.
Yeah. It's one of those places where it's a big world, but it's also a very small world at times.
Yeah.
And you're doing all sorts of bits on the Microsoft stand today.
Yeah, I've been, you know, it was very nice for Microsoft to kind of invite me over and give me some time and space with them. You know, I think they've got an awful lot going on with Copilot, AI, you know, driving a lot of their traffic. But I've been working with them around data around things like reading progress and Reflect, so their learning accelerators.
So the very clumsy OWL summary, and over the months I've shared quite a lot of resources that you usually haven't put out there. But fundamentally, we all know some of the benefits of AI in terms of the generative AI and creating content, resources and pictures.
Yeah.
But there's also a whole different picture, which is about how can we effectively capture, collate and analyse data for purpose.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, I've seen the rise of Gen AI over the last 18 months, 2 years, you know, in terms of the Gartner kind of hype circle around these things. Fundamentally, it hasn't changed an awful lot of things that we've been doing around AI for the last 5 or 10 years.
So that non-generative approach is all about informed decision making based on joined up data sets, isn't it?
It is. It's certainly it's moving up the kind of that analytics value chain from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive analytics. You know, moving through that. You know, away from the it's quite a common set of descriptors in the game. But it's moving away from that rear view mirror stuff to say, well, if you know what's happened in the past, what's likely to happen in the future? And if you start to know what's likely to happen in the future, well, what should you be doing about it? And I think for us, most of our work being in the machine learning rather than in, you know, deep learning and then that Gen AI piece, is the fact that we can do the things that we think ethically you need to do in this sector about making sure it's explainable and transparent and retains human agency in these types of processes.
That transparency, I think, is absolutely key. In a way, much as I see great potential with some tools in terms of generative AI and how that can be a time saver and an opportunity to capture, it's almost moved the focus away from the stuff that's much more purposeful in terms of that machine learning, but non-generative analysis of data effectively.
Yeah, but I think most of these kind of hype cycle things, they can be beneficial, you know, in the round, more than necessarily just around Gen AI. So the fact that everyone's talking about AI in a way that they weren't 2 years before means that I can have the conversation that says, well, yeah, but there is a way to approach AI that is responsible, that is ethical, and that is in the right context. And again, most of our work is with adults, is with grown-ups. A lot of the talk about Gen AI in education is the fact, you know, in terms of students' use and that use in learning. So, you know, there are really quite separate domains there. And so I think it's been beneficial for the work that we do, that everyone's talking about AI, and you can have the conversation, you know, that isn't quite as alien to people as it might have been several years ago, I guess.
And would you say, as much as anything else, the key is about bringing the kind of siloed data together to provide a more aggregate analysis?
Yeah, a huge amount of value. It's got nothing to do with AI, right? And that's another thing about Gen AI is, because I've played around with Gen AI for some time now, and when you put Gen AI on the data sources that we've got, it still returns garbage. You know, if you ask Gen AI about kids' attendance pointing at a data lake full of information about attendance, Gen AI isn't too sure about, you know, what on-roll or off-roll means. It's not going to automatically take those kids out of the calculation. And so relying on Gen AI in terms of the analytics space at the moment, isn't such a great thing to do. Having said that, the hackathon that we ran last week in the UK, we had an awesome Microsoft team there. So there's 10 or a dozen data and AI engineers, and actually one of the concepts that they were modelling for us was to actually think about, we can use Gen AI to ask questions about unstructured data, so reports, PDF files, those sorts of things, and then have that return some quantifiable or more numeric information that we didn't have in the data lake. And then you can incorporate that into kind of the machine learning and those sorts of models in there. So I think as we're learning more about it, there's different ways in which you can use Gen AI, which isn't just the ask it to define your lesson plan or whatever it may be.
So if you were, we'll use our UK and US terminology, if you were a multi-academy trust, or you were a school district, or you were a vendor who's using tools that generate but also have the potential to purposefully use data, how would they engage with Open Education AI?
Well, so Open Education AI is kind of born out of Microsoft's Open Education Analytics program, right, which has been running for multiple years. So we haven't just sort of started and invented a way of doing things. And so there are already, multiple districts, states, areas in Australia, Helsinki City, others that have been adopting this kind of framework. And so what we do is kind of grounded in that. It's really about understanding the educational use case, because the technology is kind of the secondary bit to here, but it's for any school group, international school group, or as you say, multi-academy trust or school districts, to really understand either the key challenge that they've got with data analytics, whether that's attendance, whether that's safeguarding, whether that's academic output, whether that's staff recruitment, retention, whether that's funding. We're working with school groups around operational efficiencies, thinking about sustainability goals. So everyone is coming at it from this, defining the education use case. And that's the start of the engagement process, because I think whoever the school group is, we've got patterns and practices for getting data out of school systems. That's fine, but then it's really making sure that based on the use case, your problem or your opportunity, we've actually got the right data and it's of sufficient quality, and that's kind of where you start. Everything's tracking back to that, the priority for the district.
And so folks listening to this, and it'll probably be a week after Bet or 2 weeks after Bet, or maybe you're here a year later listening to, I call it Bet because I'm thinking in English, right? But ISTE, and I'm sure our listeners will know. We're in ISTE, we're in Denver, hello there. If they want to connect with you or find out more, what are the best contact points?
What's the
best contact point?
Well, our channel is basically LinkedIn. So find me on LinkedIn, Matt Woodruff, because all of the updates that we put through, the social enterprise stuff, the work in the UK, we publicise through that. So it's Open Education AI on LinkedIn or Matt Woodruff on LinkedIn, and that's the best way to kind of start.
And it's a fairly busy channel, to be fair, isn't it? There's a lot being shared through that.
It's, personally, I've never had so much fun doing this type of work, and that's absolutely genuine, because we're getting the right engagement with people that are wanting to make a difference to student outcomes, whatever those outcomes are. So that is absolutely brilliant. And like I say, we've just come off the back of our summer hackathon. 40 to 50 people, wonderfully hosted at Shiland in the UK, one of the buildings there.
So Mark and his team, they're always seem to be first in the queue to embrace innovation, or to at least be a platform to support innovation?
Yeah, they have been, and they've been a brilliant partner to me over the years in doing that. But actually, now Open Education AI was founded with people like Lauren Thorpe from United Learning, Graham Feet from Greenwood, Arc Schools, and Dixon's as four founding multi-academy trusts in there. But since BET, and it was BET, not ISTE, this year, that's grown. So as we started to get the message out there that actually there is a collaborative way where we can reduce costs, crash time to implementation, those sorts of things. I haven't yet met anyone that said, well, that's a stupid idea. It's hard. It's much harder for people to do it this way, because there has to be some sort of agreement about what a schema looks like. But actually, once you do that, being able to take some work that someone's done in predictive attendance and just deploy it in your own environment, or the predictive safeguarding, which has been years in the making. So school groups can't do that themselves, so there's got to be a different way.
I think the term for that is additionality, isn't it?
Additionality is a good one, yeah.
I think that's the key. You know, you come together and there's something greater than the sum of your individual parts.
And even if it's not, there's so many, and it was funny last week, so many people came to me and said they got imposter syndrome. You know, they didn't feel that they could contribute to these types of conversations. And that's absolute rubbish, because they've got all that lived experience. And so them knowing what is the challenges, the problem in their own organisation, and realising that everyone's got very similar challenges in there.
Absolutely.
And they can talk about it and come to a view to say, oh, I wasn't sure that was the right thing to do, and now I've discussed it, I found out that, well, mostly it was, but maybe I'll do a couple of things differently. And without the collaboration, you don't get that sort of interaction. You can't do it at an event once a year. You know, it's got to be, you know, more ongoing than that.
Brilliant. As always, it's good to see you.
It's a pleasure.
It's nice to remember that it's definitely America, not the UK we're in today.
It is today.
But listen, if you're listening in, do check out Matt, connect with him on LinkedIn, and keep following all the great resources that I often spot and pick up and share.
And we'll see where you are next week.
Who knows?
Next week.
Good to see you.
Cheers, Anna.